At our wedding ceremony, Ethan ran away from the marriage in front of everyone for his first love. He said, "I am willing to marry you, but you're not the one I love." I was extremely embarrassed. However, after I walked into the chapel with another man, Ethan knelt at my feet with red eyes and a trembling voice. "Diana, stop making a fuss. Let's go home." "Ethan, please don't go. I'm begging you." I was wearing my bridal gown and tightly grasped Ethan's hand, pleading desperately. Ethan was standing there in his matching expensive suit, looking a bit hesitant. Under my pleading, I saw his expression soften a little. I was overjoyed, thinking that he was going to stay. Just then, an anxious and impatient voice of a woman rang out, "Ethan, Sophia has cut her wrists and tried to commit suicide. She's still in the hospital, waiting for you." It was the voice of Amelia, Sophia's good friend. I saw that Ethan's already softened brows and eyes turned cold again. He said to Amelia, "I'll go right away." Then he turned around, pulled out the arm that I was tightly holding on to, and said to me, "Sophia is in danger. I'll be back soon." Amelia looked at me with a smug expression. She knew that as long as Sophia was brought up, Ethan would surely leave. I was still making my last struggle. "Ethan, this is our wedding. You promised me." But it was all in vain. I watched their figures disappearing into the distance and slumped to the ground unwillingly. Sophia. It's her again. I knew that Ethan could never let her go. But I didn't expect that even at our wedding ceremony, Ethan would choose her without hesitation. The guests in the audience became restless as they watched the groom of the wedding leave with a strange woman. I didn't expect that the wedding ceremony I had carefully prepared would be so easily ruined by Sophia, and she didn't even need to show up herself. All it took was a suicide message brought by her friend, whose authenticity was unknown. Tears fell from the corners of my eyes. She won. The alliance between the Ethan family and the Diana family had drawn much attention. Not only were the prominent figures in Beijing present at the wedding, but there were also many journalists and media. After today, I would become the laughingstock of the whole city of Beijing. More importantly, once such a scandal got out, what would happen to the stocks of the Diana family? What about the Diana family's company? Just when I was in despair, suddenly someone else came onto the stage. I felt a pair of warm and powerful hands helping me up. I looked up and it was Henry. He said something that shocked me greatly. "My Henry family is also a big and prosperous one. I wonder if it's okay to change the marriage partner temporarily. Miss Diana, do you mind?" He was staring at me intently with his always amorous eyes. I thought I had misheard. Looking into his eyes, I realized that he actually had a pair of beautiful peach blossom eyes. Henry was still waiting for my answer. He was also dressed very formally today, in a custom-made suit. Even if it was said that he was the one getting married today, probably no one would doubt it. After hearing his words clearly, I forced a smile. "You don't have to help me in this way. Just tell me, are you willing or not?" His eyes looking at me were full of determination. Somehow, looking at his serious eyes, I actually agreed to this absurd proposal. Okay. The wedding went on as usual. Everything was the same as I had arranged, except that the groom was a different person. I was like a puppet being manipulated, completing the whole ceremony. After the wedding, a group of journalists, like cats smelling fish, surrounded me. "Miss Diana, what's going on here? Is your new husband Mr. Ethan or President Henry? Who is the woman who took Mr. Ethan away? Do you know her?" I felt so exhausted that I could hardly speak. Henry stepped forward and blocked all the cameras and questions for me. "I'm standing right here. Just ask me if you have any questions. I'm here, so the protagonists of the wedding must be me and Diana. What happened at the beginning was just a little skit before the wedding." Looking at Henry standing in front protecting me, so reliable and reassuring, I suddenly remembered the day when Ethan proposed to me. He just looked at me coldly. "I can marry you." There was only the coldness of fulfilling a task in his words, without a shred of love for me, but I was still extremely excited. From the age of 16 to 25, for a whole 9 years, I had loved Ethan for 9 years. Finally, I heard these words, and I could finally stand beside him openly. Even if it was just an alliance between the Ethan family and the Diana family, so what? I thought that since he was willing to marry me, he must have feelings for me. Besides, after we got married and spent more time together, Ethan would surely fall in love with me gradually. But I didn't expect that we couldn't even complete the wedding smoothly. After seeing off all the guests and journalists and media, looking at Henry bustling about, reason returned to my mind. What on earth had I done? How could I have agreed to Henry's such outrageous proposal? What should we do now? I asked Henry. He looked at me, his eyes seeming to penetrate me. What do you mean, what should we do? Aren't we married? Looking at his eyes, I quickly lowered my head. I didn't dare to look at him. I was afraid to see such intense eyes. You clearly know that this was just to save the situation. Henry chuckled. Miss Diana, what I said at that time was to change a marriage partner, not to accompany you in putting on a show. I looked up in shock. I thought you were just helping me. I'm not that kind-hearted, Diana. After all these years, it should be my turn, right? Henry leaned close to my ear and said softly, You like me? I was even more astonished. Henry, Ethan, and I were all kids who grew up together in the villa area. I used to think that Henry and I were just friends who grew up together. You're really slow. It took you so long to figure it out. But you had eyes and heart only for Ethan before, so it's normal that you didn't notice me. Henry looked at me with a smile. I suddenly didn't know what to say. Everything that happened today was beyond my belief and left me at a loss. Just kidding. It was just a ceremony. We didn't even get the marriage certificate. As long as the media doesn't spread rumors, we can just say the alliance is cancelled after a while when everyone forgets about it. Seeing my bewilderment, Henry spread his hands and pretended not to care. I let out a sigh of relief. Although I was still a bit flustered, I knew this was the best solution for now. I nodded, but didn't notice the complicated look in Henry's eyes. At night, I lay in bed unable to fall asleep for a long time. Whenever I thought of Ethan, the pain spread from my heart to all directions. I had known Ethan since I was a child. I fell in love with him when I was 16. In the following years, although Ethan didn't accept my feelings outright, he didn't clearly reject me either. I had always thought that we were in love with each other, just that he was not good with words. Until Sophia showed up. She seemed to have some kind of magic. Just as I was deeply in love with Ethan, Ethan also fell deeply in love with Sophia. Unlike Ethan and I who had known each other since childhood, they met in college. Sophia didn't know that Ethan was the heir of the famous Ethan family. They lived a peaceful and wonderful life like an ordinary couple. I was really sad back then. I had thought that Ethan and I would get together naturally, but the pride of the Diana family would never allow me to do anything like being a homewrecker. So I sincerely blessed them. But unexpectedly, after graduating from college, Sophia left for abroad without a word. She got a new foreign boyfriend who said he could take her to live abroad. She only called Ethan to say that she wanted to go to a broader world and that Ethan couldn't give her the life she wanted. During that time, Ethan got drunk everywhere, living a life of drunkenness. It was I who stayed with him all the time, and I secretly rejoiced in my heart. Later, Sophia didn't have a good life abroad. Her foreign boyfriend dumped her soon. Later, when she found out that Ethan was actually the president of the Ethan Group, she came back to China. After returning to China, she started using all kinds of means to get close to Ethan. Ethan always seemed unmoved by her attempts to win him back, but I knew that Ethan had never let her go. Sophia was such a vain woman who didn't care about others' opinions at all. But Ethan just liked her. After that, his father and my father decided on the alliance, and Ethan agreed. I was overjoyed at that time, thinking that my long-cherished wish had finally come true, but it turned out like this. Tears slid down the corners of my eyes onto the pillow. The ruthless figure of Ethan leaving deeply hurt me. Ethan, Diana, don't have to have you. I also have my own dignity. I also thought of the farce at the wedding today and Henry's words that were both true and false. An indescribable feeling welled up in my heart. This hasty wedding tied the two of us tightly together. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't expect that Ethan would send me a message only until the next night. He left with another woman without saying a word at our wedding, and it was more than a day later that he gave me a reply. Sophia cut her wrists. It's serious. I can't just stand by. Don't worry. I'll keep my word. As for the wedding, we'll make it up later. Then he hung up the phone in a hurry. After hearing his words, my heart sank. What does it have to do with us that she cut her wrists? Why should I give up my own wedding? Ethan even made it sound so insignificant. If Henry hadn't stepped forward to help me, I'm afraid the news of the eldest daughter of the Diana family was brutally abandoned at the wedding would have spread all over the world by now. Moreover, Ethan didn't mention Henry at all. I'm afraid he was so busy accompanying the person he loved that he didn't even know what happened after he left. My heart trembled. For 9 years, I, the eldest daughter of the Diana family, had always been by his side. Was my passionate love so easily disposable in his eyes? Or maybe it was because Ethan knew I liked him that he could be so reckless, relying on my love for him. Was it so hard for him to reject those two people? All those ambiguous and seemingly affectionate moments from Ethan over the years were just me being delusional. How could he think so highly of himself? Did he think that I really had no dignity in front of him and could accept the fact that he ran away from the wedding without caring? Tears streamed down like a bursting dam. The 9-year relationship seemed to collapse in an instant. At this moment, I swore to myself in my heart that Ethan was nothing. I, Diana, would never look back. I would never like him again. The next day, Henry came to see me. He brought an agreement. Looking at my swollen and red eyes, he said, "The eldest daughter of the Diana family, let's make a deal." I was a bit puzzled. What kind of deal could there be between us? Understanding the puzzled look in my eyes, Henry said, "I need you to play my fiancée or contract wife. Don't worry. It's just an agreement. In return, I'll give you 1% of the Henry Group stocks." I was even more curious and couldn't help but have some speculations. Could it be? Seeing the expression on my face, Henry chuckled, "Don't overthink it. I just need someone to deal with my parents. And if we pretend to be together, the Diana family and the Henry family can achieve a win-win situation through strong cooperation, right? Besides, don't you want to get revenge on Ethan?" I thought it over carefully. We just had the wedding ceremony in front of the media yesterday. For now, we are temporarily tied together. It seems okay to pretend to be married. Moreover, I really need to divert my attention to get over Ethan. Why? Are you scared? Afraid of what I might do to you? I was hesitating, and Henry's smile grew even wider. I took a deep breath. Okay, I'll agree to it. But once the situation calms down, we'll have to announce our separation immediately. I agree. Henry pushed the agreement in front of me. He was well prepared. I opened the agreement and took a look. It was just 2 thin pages, just as Henry had said. I signed it with relief. We had known each other since we were kids, and I trusted Henry's character. 2 days later, the Henry family and the Diana family held a press conference to announce the news that the two families had formed an alliance through marriage. It was only at this time that Ethan learned about what had happened that day from the news. Ethan rushed to the Diana family's place to look for me. When he saw me, he grabbed my arm. "Diana, don't be silly." I was stunned. Silly? So in his eyes, all the efforts I made for my dignity and the stocks of the Diana family after he ran away from the wedding were just being silly? I took a half step back to put some distance between us and said in a distant tone, "Who are you? Coming to my house for no reason." "Who am I? I'm your fiancé. We almost got married 2 days ago." Ethan was so angry that he laughed. I curled my lips into a smile. "Ethan also knows you were my fiancé. You had the nerve to run away from the wedding. How dare you still call yourself my fiancé? Besides, you said we almost got married." "Well, we didn't get married after all. As far as now is concerned, you have nothing to do with me." Ethan looked impatient, as if my words were giving him a headache. But years of habit still made him think that I was just saying these things for now. "Diana, stop making a fuss. I really had something important to deal with at that time. I'm back now, aren't I? I snorted lightly. Wasn't it just to meet your ex-girlfriend in private? And you're making it sound so serious. You're back now? It's like you only come to care when it's too late. I don't need you anymore. Diana, can't you speak a bit more nicely? Ethan said with a frown. My words were harsh? No matter how harsh my words were, it wouldn't be too much. Sophia was really in trouble at that time. It was a matter of life and death. We could always have the wedding later. Ethan still didn't seem to think he had done anything wrong at all. Hearing his words, I finally felt that I could see clearly the person I had liked for so many years. He turned out to be so selfish, mean, and self-righteous. It was as if this person had suddenly rotted in front of me. Although I knew he hadn't become like this suddenly, it was only today that I saw his rotten personality beneath his disguised appearance. Just when I was almost unable to resist the urge to slap this hypocritical man, Henry finally arrived, a bit late. Excuse me, Mr. Ethan. Henry walked over and stood in front of me, using his tall figure to completely shield me. I don't know what you want to say to my wife. I can see that my wife doesn't really want to answer your questions. I suppose you can talk to me if you have something to say. Although Ethan had seen the news about Henry coming to the rescue from the news, he only thought that Henry had just stepped in to help me out temporarily. In his eyes, I was deeply in love with him and would never be with anyone else. Your wife? What kind of wife is she to you? Ethan didn't believe it at all. Henry smiled. We had the wedding. How can we not be considered husband and wife? But it's all thanks to you. Otherwise, how could I have married Diana? Besides, if you hadn't chickened out at the last minute, how could Diana have seen your true face? And how could she have been willing to marry me willingly? Frankly speaking, you're still the matchmaker between us. Ethan was choked by these words. His eyes suddenly narrowed as he stared at me intently, his thin lips moving slightly as he asked for confirmation. Is what he just said true? I paused for a moment, looking at the gazes from both Henry and Ethan. I calmed myself down and said firmly, yes, I did marry him. You married him? You're my fiancé. Have you forgotten the marriage agreement between us? Ethan looked really angry. I patted Henry's hand to hold back his worried gaze. I knew Henry was worried that I would be easily persuaded by Ethan to forgive him. Agreement? May I ask if we have a marriage contract? Did you ever propose to me? Did we get the marriage certificate? I was deliberately blocking Ethan like this, because he couldn't answer any of these three questions. Ethan was pondering over these three questions, staring at me as if examining me, seemingly trying to find a trace on my face that I was just trying to anger him. I forced myself to look at him calmly. After a while, perhaps seeing my seriousness and determination, Ethan gave up. He changed his attitude and said gently, Diana, stop making a fuss. I know maybe I didn't do things right, but you can't make a hasty and wrong decision. How is it a wrong decision? Any decision made by Diana is the right one. Ethan, you'd better watch your words. Henry stood beside me, glaring at Ethan unkindly. I'm not talking to you. Don't interrupt. Ethan also looked really impatient with Henry. He's my husband. What he says is what I say. I hooked my arm around Henry's, speaking slowly. At this moment, I definitely had to stand up for Henry in front of Ethan. Diana is right. What's wrong with me answering for my wife? Ethan, as an outsider, you'd better leave quickly. Don't disturb the two of us, the young couple. Henry was quite pleased with my support and provocatively grinned at Ethan. Ethan was provoked by our intimate appearance. Diana? Such an affectionate way of addressing. You two must have hooked up long ago, just waiting for this day. Diana, I really misjudged you. You're such a hypocritical woman. With that, Ethan stormed off as if afraid that I would refute him. I thought to myself that this was probably a man's possessiveness. Even though he didn't like me, in his eyes, since I liked him, I belonged to him. Moreover, we were almost walking down the aisle just a couple of days ago, but now suddenly I had become someone else's wife. I was stung by his words. Even though I had already decided to let go of Ethan, his words still managed to get to me. Henry looked at me worriedly. The innocent need no proof. He's the one who did those dirty things, so he thinks everyone else is like that. Don't take his words to heart. I know. I pinched the palm of my hand tightly. It's normal that you can't let go of the feelings of so many years. Henry looked at me meaningfully. I thought he might be trying to test me. I gave a bitter smile. One-sided affection isn't called a relationship. There was no relationship of many years between us. I would gradually reduce Ethan's influence on me. One day, neither his words nor his actions would be able to affect me anymore. Henry let out a sigh of relief and took out an exquisite and small jewelry box. This is actually the purpose of my visit today. Open it and have a look. I opened the jewelry box on the table while Henry watched me with a smile, as if I were his whole world. Wasn't this the scene I had been longing for all along? Suddenly, I felt a warm current flowing through my heart. Ethan couldn't give me the happiness I wanted. So, was I supposed to close my heart forever? I opened the jewelry box and saw a diamond ring that was exquisitely crafted and looked quite valuable. It's an engagement ring. I asked you to pretend to be my wife, so there has to be a proposal process. How could it be without a ring? Henry said matter-of-factly. He carefully put the ring on my finger. It fit perfectly. I knew it would fit you. Such a beautiful ring suits you. I looked at the ring on my hand. Ethan and I were almost at the altar, but I didn't even have a ring. It wasn't like Ethan couldn't afford one. But now, just because I was pretending to be Henry's wife, he immediately bought this ring. Although I didn't really care about a ring, what I cared about was his attention and care for me. I could also be someone who was cherished by others. Is it necessary? We're just pretending. Wouldn't it be okay to just go through the motions? I joked. Marriage isn't a joke. Even if it's just going through the motions, I hope to give you the best. Henry looked at me earnestly. My heart trembled. The feeling of being cherished made my nose a bit sour. I also realized the fact that Henry liked me. Even if I didn't know before, after the wedding rescue incident, although Henry later said he was joking, I knew he wasn't. At this moment, I suddenly felt that the man in front of me might be trustworthy. Henry stayed with me for a while. When I got tired, I asked him to leave. However, unexpectedly, after I went out to see Henry off and stood at the villa entrance to get some fresh air, just as I was about to close the gate and go back inside, a hand suddenly reached out. I saw Ethan leaning against the door, his face gloomy. I was a bit surprised. Didn't he leave after throwing those harsh words? What are you doing? Ethan remained silent for a long time and didn't say a word. I didn't want to be self-deluded into thinking that he stayed at my doorstep because he couldn't let go of me. I just wanted to get inside quickly. But just as I was about to close the door, I smelled a faint scent of alcohol on Ethan. Then my wrist was grabbed. I looked at Ethan in surprise, catching a glimpse of his pursed lips from the corner of my eye. Mr. Ethan, is there anything else? Ethan stared at me. I left something behind. I thought about it. I didn't see him carrying anything when he came, and I didn't notice anything of Ethan's left at home when I came out just now. Since I couldn't remember, I simply asked him, "What did you leave behind?" "I left you behind." In an instant, his thin lips, reeking of alcohol, suddenly invaded my territory. My breathing was firmly controlled as Ethan pinned me against the door and kissed me deeply. I was terrified, not understanding what had gotten into Ethan. Our faces were pressed tightly together. I could clearly feel every breath of his. His warm hand was on my back, and I felt my back getting hot too. How I had longed for his kiss before, but now this kiss only made me feel disgusted. I struggled violently. Ethan felt my struggle and pressed me even tighter. I mustered up all my strength and bit his tongue hard. Ouch. You're really cruel. Ethan let go of me in pain. I wiped my mouth vigorously with my sleeve and stared at him coldly. Ethan, you really have some nerve. How dare you force yourself on me? Disgusting. This was the first time I had said such harsh words to Ethan. Hearing my words, Ethan clenched his fists, the veins on the back of his hands showing. He closed his eyes and took a few deep breaths. Disgusting? Don't you like me? Then his voice softened. Diana, don't be so temperamental. I didn't know you cared so much about that wedding before. I've already made it clear to Sophia. We'll never have anything to do with each other again. You can rest assured. I don't care about your thing with Henry. How about we make up the wedding? These past few days, I've missed you. I was really wrong that day. Actually, I do care about you. Stop being so stubborn, okay? This apology and the words, care about, were what I had been longing for before, but now they came too late. Rather than being touched or changing my mind, I just sneered. Ethan still didn't get it. He was still so high and mighty. The problem wasn't about making up the wedding at all. The important thing was that he thought from the bottom of his heart that I couldn't live without him, that I couldn't let go of him, and that he looked down on me in his heart. In his eyes, we are not on an equal footing at all. I don't need a relationship or a marriage where the balance is so heavily tilted in his favor. Mr. Ethan. I took a deep breath and stared at him calmly. I've already said that I have a fiancé. We've already had the wedding ceremony, and soon we'll be a real married couple. I don't care about the past anymore. What you did today is the last bit of kindness I'll show you. I won't tell anyone about it. I'll just assume that you were drunk and lost your head. In the future, we'd better not see each other again. Even if we do meet, let's just pretend we don't know each other. Ethan's already red eyes became even redder. He gritted his teeth hard and stared at me with his eyes fixed. Diana, are you really being this heartless? It's not me who's heartless, it's you, I said loudly. Even at this moment, Ethan was still accusing me of being heartless. But did he ever see my deep affection for him over the years? I was truly disappointed in him from the bottom of my heart. Out of the corner of his eye, Ethan saw the ring on my hand. He grabbed my hand and asked, "Where did this come from?" "I remember you never used to wear rings before." I sneered. "I didn't wear rings? That's because you never bought me one. This one was given to me by Henry." "Take it off!" Ethan suddenly shouted loudly. I looked at him mockingly. "What? You didn't buy me any jewelry, and now you won't even allow me to wear a ring given by someone else? Besides, isn't it normal for me to wear the ring given by my husband? May I ask, Mr. Ethan, which law have I broken?" "Diana, take it off. I'll buy you a new one, a bigger diamond ring, a more beautiful and more expensive one than the one Henry gave you. Okay?" Ethan's tone was already pleading by this point. "It's too late," I said coldly. Looking at my expressionless face, Ethan felt as if something was slipping away quickly. He wanted to hold on to it, but it was all in vain. "Now please leave, or I'll call the security guards." I was extremely tired in my heart. At this moment, I really didn't want to say another word to Ethan. Ethan seemed to want to say something more. I seized the moment and slammed the door shut with a bang. No matter how Ethan knocked on the door outside, I pretended not to hear it. Diana, please forgive me. I'll listen to you in everything from now on. I'll give you the most luxurious wedding in the world." "Okay, Diana, don't ignore me." Ethan was still speaking through the door, unwilling to give up. "Ethan, if you don't want me to dislike you, then leave quickly," I said to the door. After a while, I heard that it finally became quiet outside. The next day, I got up very early. Maybe it was because I didn't sleep well due to what happened last night, but more importantly, it was because I was going to visit Henry's parents today. Although we grew up together and were quite familiar, and I had met his parents many times. But the sudden decision of our marriage was still a bit abrupt. So after settling my parents down and taking care of other things in these 2 days, I decided to pay a visit to Henry's parents. After all, we knew it was a fake marriage, but our parents didn't. Henry came to pick me up at my place very early. Although the distance was short, he still came to get me, and then we went to his place together. Again and again, I felt the sense of being valued on Henry. When we were almost at their doorstep, Henry suddenly stopped. It seemed that he had been struggling with something for a long time. He said to me, "My parents think we have a great relationship, so should we hold hands when we go in to avoid being found out?" I looked at Henry's expectant gaze in his inquiry. I deliberately waited for a while until Henry was about to say forget it. Then I said, okay. Henry was overjoyed. He carefully held one of my fingers. Seeing that I didn't reject him, he slowly covered my whole hand with his. I felt the warmth in my palm and the cherished attitude of the person beside me, and I couldn't help but smile. When his parents saw us, both of us were smiling. Diana is such a good girl. You don't know that ever since Henry was a little boy, I hoped he could be with you. But I didn't expect that he didn't make a move for so many years. I had almost given up hope. But now you two are together again. It's really a match made in heaven. Henry's mother was smiling and looking at me kindly, constantly praising me. Thank you, Auntie. Henry is great. It's my good fortune to be with him. I was a bit embarrassed by all the praise and shyly said a couple of nice things about him too. Henry was listening to the conversation between me and his mother, and his smile was so wide that it almost reached his temples. Oh, he's already given you this ring. During the chat, Henry's mother saw the ring on my hand and exclaimed. I looked down at the ring on my hand, a bit puzzled. Was this ring very precious? I looked at Henry, hoping he could answer my question. So you didn't know? Henry's mother was also a little surprised when she saw my expression. This is the ring that Henry's grandmother gave to me. I gave it to Henry to give to his future wife. He's already given it to you. It seems that my son has really taken a liking to you. An ancestral ring. Now I was really surprised. I originally thought it was just an ordinary but expensive ring. I didn't expect this ring to have such a big story behind it. Later, after dinner, I pulled Henry aside and asked him, why didn't you tell me this ring was an ancestral ring of your family? What's the big deal? There's nothing much to say about it. I just wanted to give it to you, so I did. Henry pretended not to care and turned his head away. I took the ring off and stuffed it into his palm. Then I can't take this ring. It's an ancestral ring of your family. How could I take it? Although I had some feelings for Henry now, we were only in a contractual marriage relationship for the moment. Logically and emotionally, I couldn't accept this ring. Since I've given it to you, just keep wearing it. Otherwise, when we go out and my mom sees the ring is gone, what will you say if she asks you about it? Henry tried to put the ring back on my finger again. After going back and forth arguing about it a few times, we finally agreed that I would return the ring to him when our agreement expired. Only then did I put it on again. His parents were all very nice to me, not showing the slightest bit of being pretentious. It was obvious that Henry's parents really approved of our marriage. I couldn't help but feel a bit emotional. Since they had such high hopes for us, what would happen when the agreement between Henry and I expired and we had to separate? Henry and I had already had a wedding once, although that wedding wasn't originally meant for us. But his parents insisted on having a new one. They said, we can't let Diana be wronged. So in the following period of time, Henry started preparing for the wedding arrangements again. Originally, I thought it wasn't necessary, but since Henry wanted it, when he looked at me with those peach blossom eyes, I really couldn't bring myself to say no harshly. That day, under Henry's repeated urging, I went with him to the bridal shop to pick out a wedding dress. I had already gone through this process once before, but back then, I was the only one who was excited. Now, although it wasn't my first time, with Henry by my side, when I opened the curtain after changing into the wedding dress, I couldn't help but start imagining what expression Henry would have when he saw me. Would he be looking forward to it? Would he be amazed? I felt a bit shy, and my heart was beating fast in my chest. The moment I opened the curtain, I saw Henry staring at me wholeheartedly. You look so beautiful. But at the same time, I also saw Ethan hesitating at the door and not coming in. What are you doing here? Seeing that I had noticed him, Ethan simply stopped hiding and walked in. Diana, I was wrong. I used to enjoy your love but took it for granted. But now I realize how terribly wrong I was. You used to expect me to give you a romantic proposal. If I say now that I love you and I want to marry you and take you home, will you come with me? Ethan took out a beautiful ring and got down on one knee. Give me a chance to make it up to you, okay? I stood there, silent for a long time. Diana. Henry was worried. He had seen how much I loved Ethan in those years, and he couldn't help but be concerned. I felt my heart, which was completely calm inside. I had completely let go of Ethan. I shook my head at him. I won't go with you. I don't want your ring, and I won't accept your proposal. Seeing that Ethan was about to say something more, I took 2 steps forward and sincerely kissed Henry. At that moment just now, I not only saw the fact that I no longer loved Ethan, but also the fact that I now had feelings for Henry. Ethan's pupils dilated as he watched this scene. The one I love now is my husband. After the kiss ended, Henry was a bit dizzy from the happiness. Ethan finally left, looking dejected. Diana, just now, were you just trying to drive Ethan away? Henry hesitated for quite a while before asking. I looked at him with a half smile, feeling a bit like teasing him. What else? Henry immediately deflated like a punctured balloon, looking all wilted. Only then did I smile and take his hand. I want a proposal ceremony. Will you give me one? Henry was overjoyed by my unexpected turn of words. After understanding what I meant, he immediately got down on one knee. Yes. Of course I will. I took off the ring on my hand and handed it to him. You can use this ring. Henry excitedly put the ring back on my finger. His thin lips trembled slightly as he asked me, Miss Diana, I want to change that marriage agreement to be for a lifetime. Will you agree? I do.